Albert Einstein once called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. He said, "He who understands it earns it, he who doesn't pays it." But unfortunately, most people in the UK don't understand it, because if you really understand compounding, you invest into assets like the S&P 500. Most people don't invest in our country, demonstrated in that there is about £1.9 trillion currently sat idle in current accounts and cash ISAs. Using my 24 years experience, I'm going to show you real examples of why compound interest is a financial game changer. So if you want to retire early, live stress-free and build wealth without needing a lottery ticket, watch this video and take some notes. Chapter 1, the Manhattan example. $24 into trillions. Let's start with a little story. Back in 1626, the Dutch reportedly bought Manhattan Island from the local Native Americans for the equivalent of $24. This probably sounds like the worst deal in history. Today, Manhattan is one of the most valuable pieces of land, real estate on earth. People laugh at the idea of selling it for pocket change, but here's where it gets interesting. If those $24 had been invested at a steady 7% return every single year since 1626, by today, that tiny sum would have grown to around $12 trillion. Think about that for a second. $24 into trillions. How? It all comes down to compounding. At 7%, money doubles roughly every 10 years. Using the rule of 72, you can figure this out in your head. 72 divided by 7 is about 10. One doubling every decade. So in 100 years, your money doesn't just grow 10 times, it doubles 10 times. That's 2 to the power of 10, which equals 1024. In other words, money grows 1,000-fold every century. So by 1726, $24 turns into 24,000. 1826, 24 million. 1926, 24 billion. And by 2026, it's trillions. Is Manhattan really worth that much today? No. The land value is in the hundreds of billions, not trillions, which means in financial terms, the Native Americans would have been far richer if they had simply taken the cash and invested it. The lesson: compounding beats even the most valuable real estate. With loads of experience and after reading hundreds of books on money and investing, I'm finally financial literate, and I would much rather invest in low-cost index funds than property, real estate, and it's because I understand compound interest. What about you? Real estate or index funds? Chapter 2, the two ingredients of wealth: time and growth. This is what the top 1% fully understand. If you got brought up in a council estate like me, I'm guessing you weren't taught anything about money or investing growing up. Compounding has just two important ingredients. One, time. The longer you leave your money invested, the more it can multiply, grow. Time is like rocket fuel for wealth. Two, growth rate. Even a modest rate of return creates insane results over long periods. You don't need to chase 100x crypto coins. A simple, steady 7 to 10% does the job. Here's the key insight. Time matters more than rate. A high rate for a short time is nothing compared to a steady rate over decades. For example, imagine you invest 1,000 at 15% for 10 years, you get around 4,000. At 7% for 40 years, you get around 15,000. The patient investor wins every single time. This is why Warren Buffett is so wealthy. Not just because he's a brilliant investor, but because he started investing at the age of 11 and never stopped. His wealth is mostly the result of compound interest for over 75 years. If this video resonates in any way, hit the subscribe button and let's build wealth together. Chapter 3, the Millionaire Librarian. As you can probably guess, this video isn't just about retiring early with compound interest. It's about using stories to drive home the importance of compounding. Not long ago, a librarian in the US quietly passed away. His whole life he lived modestly. Middle-class job, no flashy lifestyle, but when he died, he shocked everyone by leaving his university a gift of $4 million. How does a librarian end up with millions? Simple. He saved consistently. He invested in basic assets, probably index funds. He let compounding do its quiet, invisible work. The journalists covering the story were baffled, but those of us who understand compounding weren't surprised at all. Here's the truth. You don't need to earn six figures. You don't need to win the lottery. If you save and invest steadily, even a modest income can build into millions over time. As always, nothing in this video should be taken as financial advice, and the full disclaimer can be found in the description below. Chapter 4, the minimum wage millionaire. Imagine an 18-year-old earning minimum wage, around $15,000 a year. They decide to save just 10% of that, so that's $1,500, and invest it every year at 7%. Fast forward to the age of 68, so that's 50 years later, and those tiny contributions have turned into over 1 million. That's life-changing. And remember, this is someone who never earned more than average, never invested in anything like crazy like crypto, never saved more than £125 a month. The secret isn't earning big, the secret is starting early. And here's the thing, if that same person waits until age 28 to start, they'll end up with less than half as much. The 10-year delay costs them millions. And obviously, you can invest more. Hopefully, as time goes by, most people get increases in pay along the way. Let me give you a personal example. I invested £500 a month into a stocks and shares ISA at 18 for 6 months, but stopped and spent all of my money on a lad's holiday to Ibiza. Huge mistake. This was down to a lack of financial education. Let's say I was taught about things like compound interest at school. I know for a fact I would have invested from 18 to now. So that's a full 24 years. If I got average returns of 10%, that would mean I would be sat on £594,000. And looking at that huge amount, £450,000 is made up of interest earned. This is the power of consistent investing in index funds, the power of compound interest. Chapter 5, the power of starting early. Here's a real story. Yes, another one. An 18-year-old saves £5,000 from a summer job. If that money grows 15% per year, doubling about every 5 years, by age 68, that one summer job turns into 5 million. One summer's work equals 5 million at retirement. Do that every summer during uni, and you're talking tens of millions. Obviously, there is no guarantees of 15%. It's just a hypothetical. When I talk about this type of thing on this very channel, I normally use average returns of 10% because this is in line with over 100 years of historical data. Looking at the S&P 500, this is why starting young is everything. Each extra decade you give your money is another series of doubles, and doubles are where the magic happens. That's why Warren Buffett famously says his only wish is to live longer. Not because he's afraid of dying, but because he wants more time to let his wealth keep compounding. Chapter 6, UK reality. ISAs, pensions and tax efficiency. Now let's make this practical for anyone investing in the UK. If you want to retire early, you need to harness compounding in the most tax efficient way possible. Luckily, the UK gives us two powerful tools. One is a stocks and shares ISA, where you can invest up to £20,000 per year. All growth and withdrawals are tax-free, perfect for long-term compounding outside pensions. And two is a pension, which is a SIP or a workplace pension. You get tax relief on contributions. Your employers often match what you put in. It compounds tax-free until retirement. These accounts are like compounding on steroids. They protect your returns from tax, which is one of the biggest killers of long-term growth. Chapter 7, how to retire early. So let's wrap this up. Compounding is simple, but it's not easy because it requires patience. You won't see fireworks in the first 5 years, but in 30 years, in 40 years, you'll look like a financial genius. Here's how to retire step by step. 1. Start early. The younger, the better. 2. Use ISAs and pensions to grow tax-free. 3. Stay consistent. Even small amounts snowball. 4. Don't interrupt compounding by cashing out early. If you do these things, you don't just retire, you retire early, comfortably, and with options most people can only dream of. Summary. So, let me ask you this. Would you rather own Manhattan or own 12 trillion? That's the choice compounding gives you. If this video opened your eyes to the importance of compound interest, comment below and tell me, when did you start investing? And if you haven't yet, when are you going to start? Now you understand compound interest and you're either investing or thinking about it, you're thinking, what should I invest into? Well, don't worry. This channel has you covered. See below for a recent video for 10 ways you can invest your first £1,000. Thanks for watching.